I pulled into my driveway expecting silence, until I found two HOA officers at my gate with a clipboard and a locksmith. They claimed my land belonged to their association now. I said one sentence that froze them. Then I opened a folder that made their smiles disappear. I pulled into my driveway expecting silence. It was almost midnight, and my entire body felt like it was running on fumes. My head was still pounding from the day. I wasn't thinking about drama, or conflict, or anything other than getting inside and finally breathing. But the second my headlights swept across the front gate, I saw them. Two strangers standing near my entrance, dressed in crisp polo shirts with shiny badges clipped at their belts. One of them held a clipboard. The other? Bolt cutters. My stomach dropped. At first, I thought maybe they were thieves. Until the woman stepped forward like she owned the place. She was in her 40s, perfectly styled hair, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head even though it was nighttime, and the kind of smug smile that made your skin crawl. Behind her, parked across my gravel driveway, was a spotless white SUV. The kind of SUV that says, "I never hear the word no." She didn't flinch when she saw me. In fact, she smiled wider. "Marcus Hendricks?" she asked, like she already knew the answer. I stepped out slowly. "Yeah. Who are you?" She flipped her clipboard around dramatically, like she was about to read my sentence in court. "Delilah Whitmore, Maple Ridge HOA president." The words hit me like a brick. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She sighed like I was being difficult. "You owe the HOA $3,200 in unpaid fees." I stared at her. Then glanced at the bolt cutters. Then back at her. "You're cutting my gate," I said slowly. Delilah shrugged. "Non-compliant properties require enforcement." My voice sharpened. "Ma'am, I'm not in an HOA." That smug smile didn't disappear. It deepened. "Oh, sweetie," she said, lowering her sunglasses slightly. "Every house on this road is in our association now." A chill crawled up my spine. "Wrong," I said. "This property isn't part of your neighborhood." Delilah chuckled like I'd told a joke. "We have documentation filed with the county. Your uncle agreed to voluntary inclusion back in 1994. My hands clenched. My Uncle Ray would have burned the entire neighborhood down before joining an HOA. That man hated authority like it was a disease. "There's no way," I said. Delilah's smile stayed glued on. "Well, whether you like it or not, Marcus, you're obligated." Then she gestured toward my workshop across the yard, lit faintly by the porch light. "Unpermitted structures. Commercial activity. Storage violations. Fire hazards." She slapped a stack of papers onto my hood. The ink smelled fresh. Violation notices. Multiple pages. Dated back years. I scanned them quickly. For years of dues at $800 annually. Plus late penalties. Total, $4,200? I looked up. "You just said $3,200. Delilah didn't even blink. Additional penalties were added this evening. Of course they were. Math apparently worked differently in HOA land. I took a deep breath, fighting the exhaustion pressing down on my skull. "Listen," I said. "I've been awake for almost 24 hours. My mother is dying in the hospital. I do not have the energy for this." Her eyes flickered for half a second. Then she recovered instantly. "That's unfortunate," she said blandly. "But fees are due Friday." My blood went cold. "Or," she added smoothly, "we begin lien proceedings Monday morning." A lien. On my home. On land that had been in my family for decades. I stared at her, trying to understand how this was real. "My property isn't part of Maple Ridge," I said, voice low. "I'm separated from the subdivision by a creek. I have my own access road. I don't use your amenities. I never signed anything." Delilah stepped closer, perfume clouding the air like chemical warfare. You inherited the land, she said. That means you inherited the responsibilities. Then she leaned in. We maintain property values here. There it was. The real meaning. Not values. Control. And we ensure, she continued, voice quieter now, that the right kind of people live in this neighborhood. I felt something sharp twist in my chest. The right kind of people. I'd heard those words before. Usually from people who thought freedom was something you could regulate with a clipboard. I straightened. Show me the covenant, I said. Her brow lifted. I'm sorry? HOA covenants have to be recorded with the deed to be enforceable. Delilah's lips tightened. Mr. Hendricks, I'm trying to be reasonable. No, I said. You're trying to bully me. That was the first time her smile cracked. Just slightly. We will be conducting a mandatory compliance inspection, she said sharply. You will not, I replied. Her eyes narrowed. This is a neighborhood safety ordinance. You have zero authority on my land. Behind her, one of the men shifted uncomfortably. He looked young. Too young to be doing whatever this was. Delilah waved him forward. This is Chad, our certified enforcement officer. Chad gave a weak nod like he was just trying to survive the night. Delilah turned back to me. Inspection fee is $500. Payable immediately. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp, bitter. You're making up numbers. Her jaw tightened. Refusal will be documented. Document whatever you want, I said calmly. Then I pointed toward the gate. And stop cutting my property. Delilah held my gaze, then slowly snapped her clipboard shut. This doesn't have to be difficult. It already is, I said. Her voice dropped. Friday, Marcus. Or Monday gets ugly. She walked back toward her SUV like a queen leaving a peasant's porch. The two men followed. The bolt cutters clanked into the trunk. And just like that, the white SUV disappeared into the dark. I stood there for a long moment, breathing in the cold night air. My hands trembled. Not from fear. From rage. Because grief does something strange. It makes you tired. But it also makes you dangerous to the wrong person. And Delilah Whitmore had made one mistake. She thought exhaustion meant weakness. The next morning, I drove straight to the county clerk's office. The building smelled like dust, old paper, and burnt government coffee. A tired woman behind the counter glanced up. Can I help you? I need the deed for 247, Maple Ridge Drive, I said. She typed slowly, her keyboard sounding like it hadn't been replaced since 1999. After a moment, she pulled a file and slid copies toward me. I held my breath as I scanned. No HOA covenant. No restrictions. No association language. Nothing. Clean. I felt my shoulders loosen for the first time in days. Then I asked, can you pull the formation documents for Maple Ridge HOA? The clerk raised an eyebrow but clicked again. A thicker file appeared. She handed it over. I flipped through until I saw it. Maple Ridge HOA. Established. 1991. I stared. My uncle built his home in 1987. 4 years earlier. That meant one thing. They couldn't retroactively include him. You can't just create rules after someone's already there and pretend they agreed. My pulse quickened. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was focused. Delilah was lying. And the county records proved it. I left the clerk's office with copies in my hand and something I hadn't felt in a while. Hope. But when I pulled back into my driveway, my stomach dropped again. The white SUV was there. Delilah stood in my gravel like she'd never left. This time, she brought someone else. A teenage-looking security guard in a uniform 2 sizes too big. She smiled when she saw me. Good morning, Marcus. I stepped out slowly. What are you doing here? She lifted her clipboard. Mandatory compliance inspection. I clenched my jaw. I told you yesterday. And I told you, she interrupted, that you don't have a choice. The guard stepped forward nervously. Delilah's voice sharpened like a blade. We're coming in. I looked at her. Then at my property. Then back at her. And I smiled. Go ahead, I said calmly. Her expression flickered. What? Take your pictures. Write your fake violations. I leaned closer. Because I just came from the county office. Her face changed. Just slightly. And every second you stand here, I whispered, you're helping me bury you. Delilah's smile vanished. And that's when I knew. Delilah didn't move. She just stood there in my driveway with that clipboard like it was a weapon. Behind her, Chad, the so-called enforcement officer, shifted awkwardly, sweat already darkening the collar of his cheap uniform. Delilah's voice was sharp. This inspection is mandatory. Non-compliance will result in immediate escalation. I folded my arms. You're trespassing. She scoffed. We have authority. No, I said calmly. You have audacity. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Then she raised her phone and began snapping photos of my workshop, my shed, even my stacked firewood like she was documenting a crime scene. Click. 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 Fire hazard, she announced loudly. Click. Unlicensed commercial activity. Click. Unsightly structures. I watched quietly. Not arguing. Not stopping her. Because I'd learned something during 20 years in the military. When someone is digging their own grave, don't interrupt. Chad stepped toward my porch. Delilah pointed. Get photos of the back cabin too. Chad hesitated. Ma'am, are we allowed? Do it, she snapped. That's when I held up my phone. Smile, I said. Delilah froze. What are you doing? Recording trespassers on my land, I replied. Her eyes narrowed. You can't record HOA proceedings. This isn't HOA proceedings, I said. This is my private property, and you're about to regret standing on it. Her perfume-heavy air suddenly felt tense. Chad swallowed hard. Delilah recovered with a forced laugh. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, I said softly. You are. The moment they finally drove off, I didn't waste a second. I called the county planning office. A man answered. Building department. Hi, I said. I need to confirm permits for structures at 247 Maple Ridge Drive. He typed for 3 seconds. Workshop built 1987. Permitted. Guest cabin? Permitted. Tool shed? Permitted. Everything Delilah called illegal was documented before she even lived here. I exhaled slowly. Then something clicked in my brain. While she'd been photographing her precious property line fence, I noticed something. That fence didn't feel right. It sat oddly close. Like it was claiming space it shouldn't. And suddenly, I remembered Uncle Ray's old fireproof safe. That night, I dug through it. Inside were yellowed folders. Tax records. Old permits. And then, a rolled-up survey from 1987. Original boundary lines. Hand-marked measurements. I spread it across my kitchen table and placed a current satellite map beside it. My finger traced the eastern border. I counted. Once. Twice. Then I stopped. My stomach flipped. No way. According to this, my land extended almost 20 feet farther east than anyone realized, including 15 feet under Delilah Whitmore's designer fence. Her beautiful, expensive fence was sitting on my property. I leaned back slowly, a smile creeping across my face. Delilah had been threatening me while trespassing the entire time. I didn't storm over. I didn't shout. I didn't confront her like an emotional neighbor. I did what Uncle Ray taught me. Paperwork beats power. 3 days later, a professional surveyor confirmed it. Certified. Stamped. Undeniable. 15 feet encroachment. Delilah's fence wasn't just a mistake. It was illegal. So instead of revenge, I mailed one letter. Certified. Return receipt. Simple. Professional. Cold. Remove your fence from my property within 30 days, or it will be considered abandoned and disposed of accordingly. I imagined her opening it, her face twisting, Botox cracking. And sure enough, she responded immediately. Not with compliance. With escalation. Friday morning, 6:12 a.m. I heard the rumble of a diesel truck climbing my driveway. I stepped onto my porch with coffee in hand. A county code enforcement vehicle stopped in front of my house. An older officer climbed out. Name tag, Rodriguez. He looked tired, but sharp. The kind of man who knew when something smelled off. Mr. Hendricks, he said, holding a thick stack of complaints. We got reports of illegal commercial activity, noise violations, hazardous storage. I raised an eyebrow. Anonymous complaints? Rodriguez sighed. Yes. I nodded slowly. Come take a look. We walked through my workshop. Clean. Organized. Tools lined perfectly. No chaos. No business operation. Just a man building and fixing things. Rodriguez stopped beside my vintage drill press. 1950s craftsman. He ran his hand over it. My father had one like this. Uncle Ray bought it new, I said. Rodriguez nodded respectfully, then lowered his voice. Between us, we've been getting a lot of these HOA-driven calls lately. Always targeting veterans. Elderly folks. Same handwriting. My jaw tightened. So I'm not the only one. Rodriguez shook his head. Nope. He handed me his card quietly. You didn't hear it from me, but document everything. Then he looked around once more. This place is fine. Inspection passed. Perfect. As his truck pulled away, I knew Delilah was panicking. Because intimidation hadn't worked. So now, she'd have to lie louder. That evening, I decided to dig into Delilah Whitmore herself. Public records are a beautiful thing. And what I found was explosive. Her real estate license. Suspended 2 years ago. Her husband's mortgage company. Under investigation. And court filings showed over $80,000 in unpaid business taxes. That's why she needed HOA fees. It wasn't about community standards. It was about desperation. Then the invitation arrived. Emergency HOA meeting. Mandatory attendance. Topic: declining property values and non-compliant residents. Oh. She wanted to embarrass me publicly. Fine. Let's do it. The community center smelled like burnt coffee and cheap donuts. Folding chairs creaked as neighbors filled the room. Delilah stood at the front with a laptop and projector. Power suit. Pearls. Predator smile. On the screen, aerial photos of my property. Red circles everywhere. Even one around my American flag. Like patriotism was an eyesore. As you can clearly see, Delilah announced, certain residents have been operating outside the covenants. Mrs. Patterson, 87 and fearless, stood up. Marcus fixed my steps for free. Delilah snapped. That's the problem. Unlicensed work creates liability. Murmurs spread. Then Jake Morrison spoke. He rebuilt my deck after the storm. Didn't charge me a dime. Delilah's smile twitched. We must maintain standards, she insisted. That's when I stood. Every head turned. Delilah stiffened like she'd seen a ghost. I walked calmly to the front. Mrs. Whitmore, I said loudly, before we discuss standards. I held up the survey. You should remove your illegal fence from my property. Dead silence. Her face drained. What? I continued. Professional survey confirms 15 feet of your fence sits on my land. No easement. No permission. Whispers erupted. Her husband in the front row went pale. Delilah stammered. That's impossible. It was professionally installed. I smiled. Then either your installer can't read, or you've been lying about the boundary. Delilah's hands trembled. This is harassment. No, I said. This is ownership. Then I pulled out the county deed copies. No HOA covenant. I lifted another document. And here's the part you really don't want discussed. Delilah froze. I held up the final page. A notarized agreement from 1987. Property exclusion agreement. Signed by the original developer, I said clearly. This land is permanently outside Maple Ridge HOA jurisdiction. Gasps filled the room. Delilah whispered. I've never seen that. Oh, I said softly. Then you've been enforcing illegally. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I leaned closer. And every enforcement attempt? Every violation notice? Every fake inspection? Is documented trespass and fraud. The room erupted. Neighbors shouted. Delilah backed away like prey. Then she spun, grabbed her laptop, and fled out the side door. Her heels echoed like defeat. A week later, a lawyer's letter arrived at her house. Cease and desist. Fence removal demanded. HOA warned. And suddenly, the Maple Ridge HOA stopped calling. Stopped threatening. Stopped existing in my life. Delilah Whitmore never came back to my gate again. And that fence? It came down. Piece by piece. Quietly. Like it never belonged there at all. Now, when I drink coffee on my porch, the air feels different. Cleaner. Like freedom. Because here's the truth. HOAs thrive on intimidation. They count on people being tired. Overwhelmed. Scared. But they forget something. Paperwork is stronger than power. And ownership is louder than any clipboard. So if anyone ever shows up claiming your home belongs to them, smile. Ask for the deed. Then say 3 words that change everything. I'm not HOA.